These days, pepper spray is as common as keys in a woman's purse. We carry it like armor, a small promise that maybe, just maybe, we can fight back if the worst happens. But what if I told you that even locked doors, even trusted friends, even being surrounded by people you love, isn't always enough? What happens when a predator is patient enough, bold enough, to walk through an unlocked door while everyone sleeps? Tonight, we're telling the story of Jasmine Denison Jazz to everyone who loved her. She was 19 years old. She was home for winter break. She fell asleep on a couch in a house full of friends, and she never woke up. Jasmine Denison wasn't just another college student with dreams and a future stretching out before her like an open road. She was someone who had already lived more fully than most people twice her age. Born in 1988, Jas grew up in a family that knew hardship. Her parents' marriage crumbled when she was young, and she watched her mother struggle to hold everything together. But instead of letting that break her, Jas became fierce, determined. She became the kind of person who turned pain into purpose. Her relationship with her younger brother, James, was the kind that makes you believe in unconditional love. When James was diagnosed with autism, Jas didn't see a limitation. She saw her brother, brilliant and beautiful in ways the world didn't always understand. She became his protector, his champion, his translator. When the world moved too fast or spoke too loud, she'd spend hours with him, patient and present in a way that seemed almost otherworldly for someone so young. And Jas loved the world. She'd traveled through Europe with her aunt, wandering through ancient streets and tasting freedom in every new city. She collected experiences the way some people collect photographs. By the time she enrolled at Santa Barbara City College in California, studying psychology because she wanted to help people like James, Jas had already seen Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. She'd already lived 1,000 small adventures. But in January 2008, she came home to Reno, Nevada for winter break. Home to the snow-dusted mountains and the dry desert air. Home to her family, her childhood friends, her favorite places. Home to be 19 and carefree for just a little while longer. On the night of January 19th, Jas did what teenagers do. She went out. The Sands Regency Casino was hosting a hip-hop night, and Jas met up with her childhood friend Jessica and Jessica's roommate, Katie. They danced. They laughed. They were invincible in the way only young women who don't yet know the weight of the world can be. Around 4 in the morning, exhausted and happy, they stumbled back to Jessica and Katie's apartment near the University of Nevada campus. The beds were taken, Jessica in one room, Katie in another. So Jas, ever easygoing, curled up on the couch in the living room with a borrowed blanket and her childhood stuffed animal, a small bear she'd brought from home, a piece of comfort in an unfamiliar space. She fell asleep within minutes. The apartment was quiet. The doors were unlocked. The patio door, a sliding glass panel leading to a small shared courtyard, hadn't been secured. It was an oversight, a moment of carelessness in a night of fun. The kind of mistake we all make, thinking it won't happen here, it won't happen to me, but someone was watching. Someone had been watching for a long time. When Jessica woke up the next morning around 9:30 a.m., something felt wrong immediately. The living room was too quiet. The couch was empty. The blanket Jas had used was gone. And most chilling of all, there were small red stains on the pillow where Jas's head had rested. Her stuffed bear, the one she'd clutched while sleeping, had vanished with her. Panic doesn't arrive all at once. First comes confusion. Maybe she went for a walk. Maybe she met someone. Maybe she's fine. Jessica and Katie called Jas's phone. No answer. They called her family. No one had heard from her. They checked the neighborhood. Nothing. And then they called the police. And the confusion hardened into something much darker. Fear. Within hours, investigators arrived. They processed the apartment like a crime scene because that's exactly what it was. They found DNA evidence. Foreign DNA that didn't belong to Jas or anyone who lived there. They found what appeared to be bite marks on the pillow. And that sliding glass door still unlocked, told them everything they needed to know about how the predator had entered. He'd walked in while they slept. He'd stood over Jas while she lay defenseless. And he'd carried her out into the January night like she weighed nothing at all. But this wasn't his first time. The DNA came back with a hit. Not a name, but a pattern. The same genetic profile had been linked to 2 other attacks in the area. In October 2007, a woman had been sexually assaulted in her apartment after an intruder broke in. In December, another woman had been attacked in a parking garage at the University of Nevada. Both victims described their attacker the same way: aggressive, strong, methodical, and both had seen him flee in a blue pickup truck. The investigators realized, with sinking dread, that they weren't just looking for Jas's abductor. They were hunting a serial rapist who had escalated to kidnapping. The media exploded. Jas's face appeared on every news station, every website, every missing person bulletin across Nevada. Her family held vigils. Volunteers combed through vacant lots and fields, searching for any sign of her. The FBI joined the investigation. Hundreds of tips poured in, but none of them led anywhere. Days turned into weeks. Hope began to fracture at the edges. On February 15th, 27 days after Jas disappeared, a woman walking through a residential field on Panther Drive let her dog off the leash to run. The dog bounded ahead, excited by something in the tall brush. The woman followed, calling for her pet, and then she saw it, a shape wrapped in plastic. At first, she thought someone had dumped a mannequin, a doll, maybe. But as she got closer, as the details came into focus, she realized with horror what she was looking at. Jasmine Denison had been found. She was still wearing the same clothes from the night she disappeared. Her body had been left in the open, discarded like she was nothing. But she was everything. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a bright, beautiful soul who wanted to help people, who'd traveled the world, who'd loved her brother with a fierceness that could move mountains. And now she was gone. The medical examiner determined she'd been strangled. She'd fought. There was evidence of defensive wounds, evidence that even in her final moments, Jas refused to go quietly. The DNA matched the previous assaults. The killer had left his signature again. A piece of fabric, underwear from one of his previous victims, found near Jas's body like some sick trophy. Investigators intensified their search. They knew he drove a blue pickup. They knew he was local. They knew he was confident, brazen even, attacking women near a major university. They released sketches and profiles. And then, in late November 2008, they got the break they'd been praying for. James Michael Biela, a name that would become synonymous with evil in Reno. He was 27 years old, a construction worker with a volatile temper and a history of violence. He'd been dishonorably discharged from the Marines for misconduct. He had training in mixed martial arts, which explained the overpowering strength his victims described. And he drove a blue Chevrolet pickup truck. But the most devastating detail? He was married. He had a young son. He lived a double life so completely compartmentalized that even the people closest to him didn't see the monster lurking beneath the surface. Until his own wife found underwear hidden in their home that didn't belong to her. Until she saw the news reports and the sketches and felt ice flood her veins. Until she made the hardest decision of her life and called the police. DNA testing confirmed it. James Biela's genetic profile matched the evidence from all 3 attacks, including the DNA found at the apartment where Jas was taken and on her body when she was discovered. He was arrested on November 25, 2008. The community exhaled. The family wept. Justice, finally, seemed within reach. The trial was a spectacle of grief and rage. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence: DNA, witness testimony, the pattern of attacks, and the blue pickup truck. Biela's defense tried to argue contamination, coincidence, anything to create reasonable doubt. But the survivors came forward. The 2 women who'd escaped James Biela's attacks testified, facing their attacker in court with a courage that seemed almost superhuman. They described his violence, his cruelty, the way he'd treated them as objects rather than human beings. And then came the moment that would haunt everyone in that courtroom. During police interrogation, James Bila had said something about Joss, something so callous, so devoid of empathy, that it revealed exactly who he was. He suggested she'd somehow deserved what happened, that she'd had it coming, as if being 19 and asleep on a couch was a crime punishable by death. On May 28, 2010, James Michael Biela was convicted of first-degree murder, 2 counts of sexual assault, and kidnapping. The jury deliberated for just over 12 hours before returning with their verdict. He was sentenced to death, Nevada's death row, where justice moves slowly but inevitably. Jas's family stood in that courtroom and spoke about the girl they'd lost. Her mother talked about the hole in their lives that could never be filled. James, her beloved brother, had lost his protector, his champion. The world had lost someone who wanted to make it better, who understood pain and wanted to heal it. But Jas's death sparked something beyond grief. In 2009, Nevada passed Jasmine's law, requiring anyone arrested for a felony to provide a DNA sample immediately. If such a law had existed before, if James Biela's DNA had been in the system after his dishonorable discharge or after any previous arrest, he might have been caught after the first attack. Jas might have come home from that party alive and laughing. The law couldn't save her, but it would save others. Her legacy became prevention, protection, a shield for the innocent. James grew up and became an advocate for autism awareness, carrying forward his sister's love and protection in a different form. Jas's younger sister, Jade, kept her memory alive in private ways, holding tight to the girl who'd traveled the world and loved fiercely. And Jas? She's still 19. She's still dancing at the Sands Regency, still falling asleep with her stuffed bear, still dreaming of helping people like her brother. In the memories of those who loved her, she never ages. She never grows old. She remains exactly as she was, bright and brave and beautiful. The doors we forget to lock, the dangers we don't see coming, the predators who walk among us wearing masks of normalcy. Jasmine Denison's story reminds us that safety is fragile, that vigilance matters, that the world can be crueler than we want to believe, but it also reminds us that even in darkness, love persists. Laws change, families endure, and voices refuse to stay silent. Jas never got to become the psychologist she dreamed of being, but in death, she saved lives anyway. That's the power of refusing to forget.